This right here, ladies and gentlemen, this young man right here, we were trying to figure out so many things because we had so many questions. Me University, I'm going to read this super chat shortly. We were trying to figure out so many things because we had so many questions about the 14-year-old that killed his parents. Had a white daddy, a black mama. The daddy had the same name as the son. The mama had a different name. But it looks like it may have been their child together. So she may not have been a step baby mama. She may not have been a step mama. That is a mixed child if I've never seen one before. That is his actual mugshot. All right. I'm going to read that in one second, Big One Dub. So let me bring you up to speed because some people may not be familiar with what happened. This was his friend that was talking about him and was defending him and saying he's actually a good kid. He's actually a good kid. So we're going to talk about this in this nice suburban neighborhood, and then I'm going to take you over to the actual phone call that he made with 911 that was released after he killed his parents and walked to the church.
A double murder investigation in Clay County. A 14-year-old boy is in custody, accused of killing his own parents at their Middleburg home, then walking to a church to call 911. Tonight, someone who called that family his own is speaking with News4Jax about this tragic loss.
They were probably the best or one of the best families I knew. They were funny, and they treated me very well. They told me all the time that they loved me like a son, and they treated me as such.
The Clay County Sheriff's Office says David Lee and Brandy Smith were shot and killed. A family member sharing this photo of the couple with us.
Their 14-year-old son, Trevor Lee, is charged with 2 counts of second-degree murder. The shooting happened at a home in the area of Silver Point and County Road 220 in Middleburg. News4Jax reporter Alicia Hatcher is there gathering details and speaking with one of Trevor Lee's close friends.
Kyrie Beeman says he was at this house nearly every week and considered the Lee family as his own. He says he and Trevor played football together, and just this past Friday, Trevor and his dad, David Lee, gave him a ride to and from practice. And now Kyrie is still trying to separate the friend he grew up with from the crime he's accused of.
I just didn't think it was real.
Kyrie Beeman, now standing outside of a home he once considered a second home, still trying to process the unthinkable. The Clay County Sheriff says a 14-year-old boy called 911 saying he had just killed his parents, then walked to a nearby church to wait for deputies. That teen was Trevor Lee, Kyrie Beeman's best friend.
He was funny, charismatic. He always brought good energy, good vibes, and he was probably one of the best people I knew.
Kyrie says he and Trevor had been friends since elementary school, and they spoke on the phone just after midnight.
He told me that he loved me, and he told me that he was just calling to tell me goodnight.
Now Kyrie is asking the community not to judge his friend by this one moment alone. Kyrie tells me he's going to continue to push forward for Mr. Lee, Brandy, and even Trevor. For Now Reporting, Alicia Hatcher.
So that was his homeboy. His homeboy is defending him and he rocking with him. That's loyalty. But a lot of times when stuff like this happens, and don't tell me that you're not old enough to know what's going on, because you are old enough to know what's going on. A lot of times when stuff like this happen, the people that also suffer are the ones that are around you, are the people that had your back, are the people that believed in you. And so we have a greater responsibility, young people, to not just ourselves and not just our own selfish pleasures or our anger to give in to that stuff. Sometimes you need something that's greater than yourself to get you through the moment so that you don't regret something that you did when you were angry. And so allegedly he got into an argument with his parents, and somehow, some way it turned into, because if he, think about this, if he called his homeboy and was like, yo, bro, I love you, bro. Y'all have a good night, man. It's a possibility that he already had premeditated that this was going to happen, and they planned it in their heads. And man, if they say one more thing to me, man, I'm tired of my mama telling me to clean up the dishes. I'm tired of her telling me that I can't do this. I'm tired of her telling me to get off the game, whatever. My dad, man, he keep pissing me off, bro. He worked that up. He worked that up in his spirit. he had that demon in him for a long time, and he worked that up. He been working on that demon, and that demon been in him, and it's been lingering in him. And oh yeah, your parents. Oh yeah, you better. Oh yeah, and so the demon been on his shoulder the whole time, working on him and working on him and working on him. And so yeah, this dude probably at some point was already getting pissed, already working it up in his mind. And so eventually, when the time came, he had worked his nerve up and he executed. And so this is what happened. Specifically, him calling the 911 and walking to the church. This is what the phone call and the recording hit was.
We're seeing the face of the teen who stands accused of killing his parents. 14-year-old Trevor Lee facing 2 counts of second-degree murder. And for the first time tonight, we're hearing his voice in the newly released 911 dispatch recording. I want to warn you, hearing the call may be disturbing.
You first?
Yes, sir.
Go ahead, I'll listen to you. Well, I was going to ask if you could pray for me, ma'am. Right now? I'll definitely be praying for you, son.
Investigators say Lee was outside a church when he dialed 911 and reported himself. He stayed on the phone until deputies got to his location and took him into custody.
News4Jax reporter Eric Avenez here in studio with us with more on this new information he obtained in this case. Eric?
Yeah, we were able to acquire a lot more information than what we had yesterday when we first reported this story. Now, we now know where in the house the parents were killed and the extent of their fatal injuries. We also found out that the 14-year-old called his aunt in California before he called 911 to turn himself in. Just one day after 44-year-old David Lee and 45-year-old Brandy Smith were found shot to death inside their Silver Oak subdivision home in Middleburg, News4Jax has learned the couple was in their bed when they were shot multiple times.
Look at the place where they grew up. Look at this great neighborhood. Look at this great neighborhood. Manicured lawns, nice street, no drugs, one-way street, the whole 9 yards. This is the dream. This is the dream. For any young person, for any young kid that grew up in the hood or grew up in poverty or grew up in the projects or grew up in certain environments, this tree-lined street, this is that Clarence parents had a really good marriage street. This is the dream right here. Literally, white picket fences, manicured lawns, SUVs, football and soccer practices, soccer moms, acceptance. This is the life. This is the life. And so you have to ask yourself, what would drive somebody? Because obviously he premeditated it, and it said that he killed them while they were in the bed. He killed them while they were in the bed. That's what they said. That's what the news report said. That means they wasn't in the living room arguing. You know, he didn't buck up and say something or whatever like that. They was in the bed. He killed them while they were in the bed, both of them.
Home in Middleburg, News4Jax has learned the couple was in their bed when they were shot multiple times. Both were pronounced deceased when paramedics arrived. Investigators identified the killer as the couple's son, 14-year-old Trevor Lee. After the parents were murdered, Lee called his aunt in California. She then called Clay County 911 dispatch. What her nephew told her was redacted from the 911 recording.
They're in the house, please. Please. Send help immediately, ambulance, whatever, immediately.
The teen traveled to a nearby church parking lot and called 911. He stayed on the line until deputies arrived to take him into custody.
I'm by the road. I threw my backpack away from me. I'm stripped. I'm waiting for the police. What do you mean you're stripped? I have nothing in my pocket. I emptied my pockets and everything. There's nothing in my pockets.
While most of his conversation with the dispatcher was redacted, we hear him ask the dispatcher to pray for him.
Can you pray?
Yes, sir.
Go ahead, I'll listen to you. Well, I was going to ask if you could pray for me, ma'am. Right now? I'll definitely be praying for you, son.
These parents are dead in their bed. And
Retired JSO Director of Investigations turned News4Jax crime and safety analyst Tom Hackney says this was no doubt a heinous crime carried out by a kid, but he also says the fact that the teen called 911 to surrender himself says something.
instant remorse. when you hear the sound of his voice and you hear kind of what he's going through, aside from the redacted part, you hear some instant remorse, and I think that's kind of bolstered by the fact that he left the scene and goes immediately to call 911 and turn himself in.
Now, the 14-year-old remains in custody at the Regional Juvenile Detention Center in Jacksonville. So far, he has not been charged as an
He's not been charged as an adult so far. He's not been charged as an adult. So let me ask y'all a question. Let me ask you guys a question. Do you think he should be charged as an adult? Because if he's charged as an adult, this 14-year-old guy, if he's charged as an adult, it's a strong possibility that he'll never, ever, ever get out of prison. The question for you, everybody in the chat, for all of y'all more than 2,500 people watching this on YouTube, do you think he should be charged as an adult? Yes, 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 yes. No remorse. I don't care. Surrendering says something. Yes, 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 yes. Kai, is it Key? Key says, I need to know the motive. Does the motive determine whether or not? I got one no. One no. Where that no at? I thought I seen a no. Cleveland Saunders, why do you say no? Kyle, why do you say no? C. Diggs, why do you say no? Dylan Green, why do you say no? You don't have a profile picture, I don't recognize you. Keita, why do you say no? Corey P, why do you say no? Overwhelmingly is yeses. But what I'm wondering is, why do the people that say no say no? Gone Postal, why do you say no? Jody, why do you say no? LA, why do you say no? Why should he not be charged as an adult? And what do you think should be? Why are the people, Tia? Why do you say no, Tia? I am best. No, his reasoning has not yet developed. Mmm. Mmm. He's still a kid, so context is paramount. Is he? Is he? All right, so let me ask y'all another question. Since you guys say no. Let me pivot the questioning, because y'all saying no, because his frontal cortex is not yet fully developed. No, I'm not sure that you can charge him because he's still a child. Good Box Josh says no because he's still a kid. All right, cool. So when the 14-year-olds in Chicago that carjacked that lady and killed her and took her stuff and Joy rode in her car as children, should they be charged as adults? For all of the people that said no, should the 14-year-olds that carjacked the lady in Chicago, took her stuff, should the 14-year-olds that killed the police officer, the off-duty police officer, she was a woman in Chicago, should they be charged as an adult? Because if the reason is that he's still a child and his brain is not fully developed, then that means that should be applicable across the board for all 14-year-olds that kill or commit murder or take somebody's life, right? If your reasoning is because he's still a child, then that should be applicable across the board for YNs, not just for Joshua or whatever his name was. Trevor Lee. His name was Trevor Lee, right? How is it applicable to one situation, but it's not applicable to the other? We don't have any grace for the YNs that got dreads, that got blonde tipped dreads, that's carjacking people and killing them, and got switches in the hood. Throw him away, lock away, throw the key away. If you're going to use the excuse that he's still a child and his prefrontal cortex is not fully developed, then that means that you need to use the same logic for the YNs that have a rap video with switches in it because they don't know any better. That's what I'm asking. Why do you say no and say that he's still a child, he's not fully developed, we don't understand, but we don't have that same grace for the young dudes that do some of the most egregious crimes that got switches, and y'all say, get him out of here. Get him out of here. Jody said, but this is his first offense. Yeah, but he killed his parents. I would argue that this boy is more dangerous than the YNs that carjack and kill people in the hood because he grew up on a white picket fence street with diversity, equity, and inclusion parents. And his father was taking him and his best friend to football practice. And he had white picket fences. I would argue the opposite. I would argue and say, no, he had every advantage and he killed the people closest to him. He didn't even kill people that he didn't know for an opportunity in order to show off or because he was in a gang and he was influenced in a negative way. He killed his mother and his biological father in their beds and walked a mile down the street. I would say that he's worse than the people in the hood. I would say that he's worse than the people in the hood because a lot of times, even though those people need to be charged as an adult also, they do it because they are impacted by their cultural norms. His cultural norm was football and video games. Well, Nola says, I disagree. Isn't that funny? Isn't that funny? Well, you know what's so interesting about that? It's how perception will lead us to believe that one kid is worse than the other when the excuse should be universal if that's the argument that you're making in order for him not to be charged as an adult. If you got blonde tipped dreads versus got curly hair and you're raised by both parents, then you shouldn't be charged as an adult even though you killed your parents in their own bed. Ain't that crazy? Oh, he's a respectable young man. He called 911 and he said that he was going to be on the ground stretched out. Don't do that to him. Let little Nuck if you buck do it. Oh, heck no. Nuck if your buck did it, throw him away and lock away to throw away the key. Don't ever let him out of prison. He's not rehabilitatable. Y'all funny to me. Y'all funny to me. It's funny. And again, I'm not saying that he should or he shouldn't, but what I'm saying is that it's funny how y'all change the narrative and y'all justify y'all logic with the same age to children, but y'all say that one should be charged as an adult and the other one shouldn't.